Welcome back, everyone, to AHSAA TV Weekly. We are excited to have on our program today Spain Park head football coach Tim Vakakes and Jaguars player Jackson Bell. Welcome, you guys.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are off to a great start, 6-0 so far this season. You moved from 7A back down to 6A this year, so a lot of changes, but hasn't slowed you down at all. So, Coach, tell us a little bit about how the start of the season has gone, and then also how Jackson has contributed.
Well, yeah, so far so good. I mean, these kids, we talked all off season about, we can't control where they put us, whether we're 7A, 6A, and we talked all off season about just being good leaders, being good teammates, and playing for each other. Because I think at times here in the past, we've kind of played. We've just been teammates. We've played with people, and it's just so important. It's such a difference when you have a bunch of kids who are playing for each other, because when you're playing for each other, it kind of, it means somebody depends on you, and it means you depend on other people. So, our kids have done a really good job of keeping the main thing and working each week to try to get better, and not really, we talk about having a faceless opponent. Like it doesn't matter who we play, we're going to get back in the weight room and we live 4 days a week, and that's non-negotiable. That's just who we are. So our kids are used to doing a lot of hard things, and we've had some really close games this year with some really good programs, and our kids were able to figure out a way to win it. In spite of their coaching, they figured out a way to come out on top. And guys like Jackson Bell right here to my right, he's our center, and there's no doubt who the leader is on our offensive line, and he's a son of a coach, and he's got that it factor inside on offense. And we threw him to the wolves a couple of years ago when he was a 10th grader. We threw him in there. We were in the SEC West, and he was a 215-pound sophomore center, and he was just hanging on for dear life. He wasn't blocking anybody. He was just hanging on. So he's come a long way, and a lot of the stuff we do depends on how well Jackson does up front leading us.
Well, Jackson, you're obviously not hanging on for dear life anymore. In your own words, what would you say is your biggest contribution to your team on the field and off the field?
I would say leadership. I think I can bring a lot of our teammates together. I think that helps us a lot. I think it creates a bond between us, and it's basically a big family in the locker room. It's a great time, and I think that's one of my main contributing factors on and off the field.
Well, Coach, you guys beat Hoover earlier this season. I mean, an absolute Goliath, for decades now. You beat them 39-37. I'm sure that was huge for your team on every level. Can you describe to us the impact you think that win has had on your team and your season so far?
Well, I mean, obviously that game means a lot to a lot of people. There's no way around it. You can't hide from it. You can't, like we told them before the game, if we win, our season's not complete. And if we lose, our season's not over. But that's definitely a game you want to win. And, when we went down to 6A, our kids, they were nervous we weren't going to play Hoover and some of the bigger schools anymore. But I assured them we're definitely going to play Hoover. So I asked them, I said, where do y'all want to play? I asked the seniors. And they said, Coach, we want to go to the Met. And I was thinking they wanted to come here and play Hoover at home. They want to go to the Met. So, they got their wish, and it was a heck of a ball game. We jumped out on them. They had some turnovers that we took advantage of, and we jumped out on them pretty good, and they came roaring back and took the lead late, and it was a heck of a ball game. And, it meant a lot to our kids, our community. My cousin, Daniel Watkins, was on one of the teams that got beat in the championship game back with when John Gross was here, and he came on the field after the game. He had tears in his eyes, so it meant a lot to a lot of people. But it'd been, I don't know how many years since Spain Park had beat Hoover, but we're going to do what we can to make sure it's not that long of a gap again that we'll beat them again.
Well, Jackson, it sounds like this team really is the total package. You're going to have a challenge this week when you meet Chelsea in the WOTM AHSAA Game of the Week. How do you feel like you and your teammates are preparing, for a stage like that? You'll be on a statewide stage on TV. How is that affecting you guys?
Well, I think it helps that we've had a lot of challenges throughout the season so far. I think that we just being a team and being together, preparing ourselves throughout practice. I think that's what our main focus is. Chelsea's a great team. They have great defense. I've looked at They have a great front seven. They play very aggressive, very fast. I think most of it's going to be us being together and us playing and us executing throughout the game.
Well, Coach Vakakes, before we wrap up, I can't end this interview without asking you about your father, legendary Coach Tim Vakakes. I understand that he is your biggest fan. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact that he's had on your coaching career and your coaching style?
Yeah, man. So yeah, if you come to the game on Friday night, you're going to see Pop in his golf cart. He stores his golf cart here at Spain Park, so it's here for him on Fridays. So he puts around in that thing. I mean, I think last year Briarwood, he was holding kickoff up because he was on midfield with the Briarwood coaches and the referees just holding court. And, people see him, they come kiss his hand, like he's the godfather. But, there's no doubt. Me and my brother, we were raised on sidelines. We were the ball boys at Pelham back in the 80s with Dabo. And in the 90s, he was at Montevallo and Chelsea. And so we were just raised around football. And, obviously seeing what he did and seeing the impact he had on other people, it just kind of is natural for me to be in this arena. If you put me behind a desk and on a project site or something like that, I'm probably going to lose the money. I'll write a bad check and I'll probably do something wrong. But you put me in a locker room with 85, high school football players with the staff, and I feel right at home. So, obviously he's a special guy, and if anybody comes to games on Friday night, you'll see him putting around the golf, the stadium in his golf cart. But I got to make sure he can't. One time, actually last year we played Chelsea. Something happened that we didn't like on the field and the officials, and I got called into the office on Monday by my principal. She said, "Hey, we got to talk about Pop." And I didn't know what she was talking about. I said, "What happened? Like, what did he do?" Apparently, he drives his golf cart onto the field at the refs because they couldn't hear him after the touchdown and all that. He was trying to get closer to the field so they could hear him. And he never apologized to me. He apologized to her, but his rationale was, well, they couldn't hear me. I'm like, Pop, you can't do that. You can't do that. I barked at him enough, stop. But he's a trip. He's definitely a legend, and a lot of people love seeing him out here Friday night. So him and my mom are going to be there Friday night or Thursday night this week, and I'm sure he's going to have people kissing his ring. But he loves Spain Park. He has a bunch of Spain Park gear, and he definitely is one of our biggest supporters.
Well, Coach, that's awesome. We love stories like that. Coach Vakakes and Jackson, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be watching you this Thursday night on the WOTM AHSAA Game of the Week, and we'll be looking out for Pop. Thanks, you guys.
You won't have to look far. Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this on AHSAA TV Weekly.